I am Shantanu Bhattacharya from Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Kanpur, and I would like to give a small introduction about this course on manufacturing process technology, part 1. So there is no need, I think, to illustrate how important is manufacturing in the current context with a lot of strategies centering around the Make in India mandate, etc. Manufacturing can be broadly studied as with a systems approach, and in fact there have been many lectures earlier offered by me in the systems area, manufacturing systems area. But really at the heart of any manufacturing system are a set of manufacturing processes which are really the driving factor or the motivation behind converting the raw material into a desired product which would give economic wealth to a nation. So this particular course is really dedicated to look at the process aspect of manufacturing. It will in fact cover a lot of fundamental process levels, including some of the materials that can be used for manufacturing, their studies, how these materials can be shaped using primary and secondary manufacturing processes, where in the first part an average shape or overall domain of this material is set in, and then the second there is more fine tuning so that the material shape which has been produced can go into an assembly. So manufacturing process technology would be actually reviewing some of the courses, some of the fundamental processes like casting, welding, forming, machining, unconventional machining, so on and so forth, with in-depth fundamental studies about the process, the physics that is involved, and also some things related to the engineering estimates related to particularly material removal rates, etc., associated with such manufacturing processes. I'm going to cover this into two parts. Part 1 will be available from starting January, and then following that there would be another part 2. But in these two modules we would like to cover more or less all the 5 basic processes, both primary and secondary, of manufacturing, to give you a perspective about the engineering analysis involved in doing manufacturing designing and planning. Course would be relevant for people who are studying in the undergraduate degrees, particularly in engineering, and also people who have some exposure to industry, particularly the new beginners in the industry who are trying to set up a manufacturing process or system. There would be some design guidelines, some parametric evaluation, etc., as we do this course. So I welcome all of you to this course and wish that you have a very good time. Thank you so much.